I was contemplating getting drunk and then making my review of Hangover 3 after I was hungover tomorrow morning, but then I figured that wouldn't work out.
Can you remember me? I'm the one that picked the object. Can you remember me? I'm the one that picked the object.
Welcome to MaffmanJones Movie Reviews. I'm John Maffio. Today's featured movie is Hangover Part 3, directed by Todd Phillips, starring everybody that we know: Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach Galifianakis. Within the conclusive entry in the Hangover trilogy, Alan has an unlikely death in the family, and everybody around him wants him to have an intervention. So Doug and all of his friends bring him, or supposedly take him on a ride to go somewhere to be relieved. And on their way, something happens that interconnects with the first two Hangover films, and that's where we get our supposed story. Before I delve into Hangover Part 3, the final movie, let me talk about the first two really quick. I like the first one a lot, even after 4 years. I think it's a fun comedy that gets what it wants to do done. And the second one is a rehash of the first one. I found it entertaining though. It's not that bad. It's just a rehash, and that makes it bland and unoriginal after the first viewing. So what does Hangover Part 3 have going for it? Well, it has a somewhat original plot for the Hangover trilogy stories, and hopefully funny jokes. Suffice to say, Hangover Part 3 was a disappointment in the comedy genre, the comedy spectrum. Initially, I was happy with the idea of a new plot and getting into Alan's psyche, because he's off his meds, apparently. And you think maybe they'll have character arcs that will progress and resolve by the end of the movie, but it doesn't really go anywhere. This is last minute editing magic, but Zach Galifianakis does have an emotional character arc that resolves fully, but that's because solely he is the main key to the plot happening in the first place. There are resolutions to characters throughout the trilogy. I won't spoil who. John Goodman is the antagonist, and that was an exciting prospect. But unfortunately, he doesn't have much to do. He's in the movie for maybe 10 minutes at most, and he doesn't really get to show off his acting chops or anything comedically. Kang Jong, or as he plays Leslie Chow in this trilogy of Hangover movies, he was a side supporting character in the first film, and then he blew up because people like him, I guess. Saying it up front, I do like the actor, but his character doesn't work as a main character. You can't take somebody like that and make him that prominent. It's like Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He was great in the first movie because of the limited screen time he had. When you blow him out of proportion, then it gets bland and lame. However, I did enjoy the ride for the most part with the plot, and it was nice getting a little nostalgic value out of the 2009 movie, because I'm very fond of that one. I also forgot to mention that the soundtrack was awesome. Awesome. But the general audiences are not buying tickets to see plot. They want to laugh. And judging by my audience, people were having a good time. One woman was cracking up at every single joke, laughing it up, going for everything. Most of the jokes in this movie just miss. There's something off about them. And maybe it's just because we're used to these characters, or the material written in the screenplay wasn't good enough, but something was very off. And for most of the movie, there was 2 or 3 moments where I got a high chuckle. Other than that, I was just smiling, attempting to have a good time with the jokes, when I really wasn't. It's honestly a tragic experience when you go see a comedy in a movie theater and you're trying so hard to like it and to laugh, but it feels so forced. Aside from that, no more needs to be said. The trio of actors, Ed Helms, Zach, and Bradley, all do their job very well. Nothing is wrong with them or their acting. Here's how I see it. The first Hangover became a very huge success. It's basically going to be a comedy classic one day, whether you like it or not, and it made a lot of money. So, go figure, studios want Todd Phillips to make a second movie, and it's understandable. And he tried to make something, he tried to replicate a formula from the first movie that worked, and it didn't work second time around. So, third time around, since you're going to conclude this trilogy of sorts, make it a home run. One must take responsibility with their capabilities of directing, and somebody had a job to do to make a good third movie, and no. This movie was a failure for what it had to do. It's a Rick Schneider, which is a comedy version of a 2 out of 5 stars. So if you've seen the final Hangover film or you plan to see it, let me know anything about this Hangover or the previous two films in the comments down below. Please subscribe to MaffmanJones, like the video, and check out Facebook, Twitter, and We Live Film in the info box. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and thankfully there are no more Hangover movies to worry about. Didn't end it as high as we wanted to, but what can you do? See you next time.
We've been on a lot of adventures together, but it seems like you haven't learned anything. Anything. I'll be in the limo.